You're going to be on our TVs tonight because you paid Katie a visit. So tell us, what can we expect?
I think you can expect some vulnerability with the guys, and I think things kind of escalating a little faster than they usually do in that world. My goal coming in and, sitting down with the producers talking about the date was, how do we move things forward a little faster? How do we make this a little bit more realistic? Every time someone shows up for that season, it's always like, these are my fears and this is what I'm good at. And this is my sad story. And that's all nice to hear. And it's all very endearing, but very rarely do we get to hear some of the nitty gritty things that we're not proud of, moments in relationships where we think we could have done better. And those are important moments when you get to know someone in a relationship. You might not talk about it on a first date, but this isn't a normal world. And so I wanted the guys to kind of come clean about things they wanted to work on, things they wish they would have done better, because I think showing a self-awareness about mistakes we've made in the past shows an ability to learn and be better in the future. And that was kind of the focus of that date, because Katie just doesn't have enough time to have those types of conversations with every single guy. So we were trying to fast forward things a little bit, and I think ultimately it worked out.
I was about to ask, did the guys actually come clean? Because, sometimes it's hard to be open like that, especially when it is the first couple of dates.
Yeah, I think overall the guys really stepped up. I mean, some more than others. Some of the guys in a very long-winded way just kind of maybe suggested they were, boys. Can I say boys? Sorry. But I think overall the guys really stepped up. It's a very difficult position to be in. I remember being in their shoes. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of fears. Like, what is this all about? And, they walked in. I kind of put the fear of God in them in terms of if there's something about them, trust me, it's going to come out, and which is usually the case too.
Always the case.
And they might as well have Katie hear their truth from them rather than hear it from someone else. And I think overall the guys really stepped up, and Katie included really embraced the vulnerability of the date. And I wasn't there after it, so I don't know the fallout of the date, but hopefully it added some value.
I'm sure it did, because, last episode we saw Katie's already having a bit of an issue of what guys are here for the right reasons. So when you were there any guys that you were like, oof, a little fishy? I don't know. You did say a couple were F boys, so I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, but also like most of the guys that they cast, I'm sure, has had an F boy moment in their life. It's a matter of perspective. Overall, I'd say Katie seemed like she had a nice group of men that I got to meet. Obviously tonight's episode, as we kind of know, is going to be a lot of Thomas. Personally, I didn't have a problem with what Thomas said in his confessional, but I will say the vibe I got from Thomas was one of, which is pretty typical in that world, someone who just says a lot of platitudes and a lot of cliche things that sound really nice, but I'm just wondering why he's saying it when he's saying it, because it was pretty clear up until that point Thomas hadn't had any real individual time with Katie. So it was like, I don't get why you're claiming to have this type of connection. And so it read a bit false to me, but who knows, right? That was just my gut instinct, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but other than that, and even Thomas, he seemed like an all right guy. It is a very challenging world to be in, and it can be very, I guess, scary, for lack of a better word.
And I'm sure the guys actually appreciated you probably telling that to them too, because you are pro. You were on The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise. Now, did you lend any advice to Katie? Fans know you to be open and honest about your advice. Did you give her any advice?
Yeah, I just told her to pay attention to the guy's answers. Very easy to get caught up in the things that people say. People like how things sound. And I think a lot of people, especially when you're the lead, have a tendency of not really paying attention to the words that people are saying and their meaning behind it. I think Kay did a great job of that in this episode of asking good follow-up questions. That's something I kind of mentioned her to do. I don't know if, she might have heard that advice before. She might have been planning on doing it anyways, but that is the one thing I definitely said to her.
Which is great advice. Now, when you were there, was there a clear front runner for Katie yet? Did you see that she was vibing with certain people more, or?
No, I really didn't, just because it's obviously so early and just the way the date was set up. You know, sometimes you have dates where there's a lot of stopping and starting and there's a lot of downtime, so you can kind of see, you know, Katie or the lead, or even I remember being in that position. You have an opportunity to kind of float around, and you tend to be more drawn to people you're connecting with. But this date didn't really lend to that, because everyone was just kind of sitting there. It was a very kind of heavy feel, and so, you know, Katie sat in her chair, I sat in mine, the guy sat in there. So I didn't really see, you know, any other kind of things that would allow me to tell myself whether Katie was vibing with one guy over another.
Right. Now, did you get to work with Tasha or Kaitlyn at all, or did you just come in and then go out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with quarantine, you're very limited, you know, and so no, I did not get an opportunity to see Kaitlyn or Tasha. It was in and out, so to speak. So, yeah.
But how do you think they're doing as hosts?
I think they're doing great. I mean, it's still early, right? I mean, you know, and as hosts, like the show writes itself, so to speak. I'm curious to see how they, you know, approach conversations with Katie in this, again, mentor role, because it seems like that's really their title, is more mentor rather than host. And I think as the season intensifies, we'll see more of those conversations.
Now, you know, we're talking about The Bachelorette, which is all about Katie's journey to finding love. So I had to ask about you, Nick, because you seem smitten.
I am very much smitten. I'm very lucky to have Natalie and now Jeff in my life. So I'm playing a little family man. But Natalie's fantastic. I couldn't ask for a better partner in my life. And, you know, she is everything anyone could hope to be: smart, entertaining, funny, and, you know, fun to look at.
It's so great to hear. We love to see, you know, you've been through a lot, so it's nice to know, you know, you're finding love.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everyone's been through a lot. I think mine was just shown on TV. So I have always felt like I was a pretty fortunate guy in life and in love. And I'm always been thankful for the things I learned through heartbreak, whether it was my broken heart or just, you know, unfortunately maybe breaking a heart. But I'm very thankful to the place it's gotten me. And right now things are all looking great.
Now, this is a question because it is Bachelor World, Bachelor Nation, and it is pretty fast to ask, but is there wedding bells in the future, or you're like, just slow your roll?
I think I'm just enjoying the moment right now.
Last question. We love your podcast. Is there anything coming up that you can tease?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You know, every Monday we have our Ask Nick, which is relationships with people calling in. There's a new episode out today, and people seem to really love that. On Wednesday, we have Andy Grammer, and fantastic episode with Andy. Really insightful, fun guy. He's got some new music coming out, and I really loved my conversation with Andy. And then tomorrow we will be breaking down this episode of The Bachelorette with Chrishell. And Chrishelle's a good friend. She's been on a few times, and I'm excited to have my audience listen to Chrishell and I breaking that down. So be sure to check that out.